Good evening. My name is Jennifer Schuster, and I'm the East Lansing City Clerk. Before I officially call the meeting to order this evening, I will administer the oaths of office to our newly elected council members, Lisa Babcock, Jessy, Gregg, and Mark Meadows. Councilmember Babcock, if you'd approach the podium. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this state,
the Constitution of this state,
the Charter and the Code of the City of East Lansing,
the Charter and the Code of the City of East Lansing,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of council member of the City of East Lansing
of council member of the City of East Lansing
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities. Thank you.
So you may sign here, and I'll sign after you.
Thank you.
Do I go back then? Do I go? I'll shake your hand and then you can go.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Councilmember Gregg, if you would like to come up next. And raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this state,
the Constitution of this state,
the Charter and the Code of the City of East Lansing,
the Charter and the Code of the City of East Lansing,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of council member of the City of East Lansing
of council member of the City of East Lansing
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this state,
the Constitution of this state,
the Charter and the Code of the City of East
the
Lansing,
Charter and the Code of the City of East Lansing,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of council member of the City of East Lansing
of council member of the City of East Lansing
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you. There you go.
The East Lansing City Council meeting of November 12th, 2019 will now come to order. With that, I will start with the roll call. Councilmember Babcock,
Present.
Councilmember Byer,
Present.
Councilmember Gregg,
Present.
Councilmember Meadows,
Present.
Councilmember Stevens.
Present.
Next, we will move on to the election of the mayor. Please note that nominations do not need to be seconded. At this time, are there any nominations for mayor? Yes.
Nominate Ruth Byer, Mayor of East Lansing.
According to parliamentary procedure, I must ask for nominations 3 more times. Are there any other nominations for mayor? Are there any other nominations for mayor? Are there any other nominations for mayor? If there are no further nominations for mayor, I declare the nominations are closed. Councilmember Stevens has nominated Councilmember Byer for the position of mayor. I will now conduct a roll call vote. When I call your name, you can indicate your preference by saying yes or no. Councilmember Babcock.
Yes.
Councilmember Byer.
Yes.
Councilmember Gregg.
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
There are 5 votes for Councilmember Byer. Councilmember Byer is the City of East Lansing's new mayor. If you would like to come up and take your oath as mayor, please. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this state,
the Constitution of this state,
the Charter and the Code of the City of East Lansing,
the Charter and the Code of the City of East Lansing,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Mayor of the City of East Lansing
of Mayor of the City of East Lansing,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities. Right here?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I will hand you the gavel.
Oh, yeah.
The paperwork for the election of Mayor Pro Tem. And I will do a roll call vote for that after you run the nominations.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next order of business is the election of the Mayor Pro Tem. I will call for nominations, and the city clerk will conduct the vote. Are there any nominations for Mayor Pro Tem? Yes.
I would like to nominate Aaron Stevens for Mayor Pro Tem.
Aaron Stevens has been nominated by Councilmember Gregg. Are there any further nominations for Mayor Pro Tem? Any further nominations for Mayor Pro Tem? Any further nominations for Mayor Pro Tem? If there are no further nominations, I declare the nominations closed. And Councilmember Stevens has been nominated by Councilmember Gregg for Mayor Pro Tem.
When I call your name, please indicate your preference again by saying yes or no. Councilmember Babcock,
Yes.
Councilmember Byer,
Yes.
Mayor Byer, I'm sorry. Councilmember Gregg,
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows,
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens.
Yes.
There are 5 votes for Councilmember Stevens. Councilmember Stevens is the City of East Lansing's new Mayor Pro Tem. If you would like to come up for your oath of office. Okay, switch that. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this state,
the Constitution of this state,
the Charter and the Code of the City of East Lansing,
the Charter and the Code of the City of East Lansing,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Mayor Pro Tem of the City of East Lansing
of Mayor Pro Tem of the City of East Lansing,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you very much for the clerk work on getting the council seated. All right, as my first official act, we will open the East Lansing City Council meeting with the full council and mayor with the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Moved by Councilmember Meadows, second? Second by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor of approving the agenda, please say yes.
Yes.
Anybody opposed, say no. All right, the agenda is approved. I do have to say one quick thing. I am nervous, and this is the first time I've done this, so we'll go on. The second item is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
I wasn't there.
All right, with people here. Moved by Councilmember
Second.
Meadows, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Anybody opposed to approving the minutes? All those in favor have already voted, so we have approved the minutes. See, that's what I said. Number 2.1, communications. So here, I do want to talk just a minute about communications. All of our communications that we get in writing are put on the website under the communications tab. If you send something and it doesn't show up, I'd like you to send me an email immediately, and I will make sure that it's up there, because that's always been our intention, and I just want to make sure that happens. The next section of the agenda is communications from the audience. If you would like to speak, eventually I need you to fill out this card, but if you haven't yet filled out this card, you can approach the agenda after I call the people that have filled out the cards, and you can fill them out later. The first card I have is from Alice Drieger. Is that how you pronounce that? I'm sorry, Alice Drager.
You should know my name by now.
Yeah, I was just reading, okay?
It's fine. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And congratulations to all of you, and thank you all for your service. I know this job is really difficult, and I lost a good reporter to this, and I can guarantee you I paid her a lot more per hour than you're about to pay her per hour.
Taking a pay cut.
I'm sorry to have to talk about a rough thing, but it's the last item in your agenda, and I wrote it out so that I would get it right and keep it as short as possible. On November 22nd, 2013, the Friday before Thanksgiving, a maintenance supervisor named Wayne Beatty dumped out mercury from an old device called a manometer at the city's wastewater treatment plant. It was an instrument designed to measure pressure. Beatty had odd ideas about how to handle liquid mercury, which is a highly toxic substance, and Beatty and other workers tried to clean up the mercury. Even though they had supposedly undergone something called hazardous communication training 3 days before, they seemed unaware of the dangers of mercury to themselves and to the environment. The group of plant workers, including Beatty, used 2 or 3 ordinary shop vacs to try to clean up some of the liquid mercury. They also washed some of it down the sink. They washed some of it down the floor drain, and they cleaned some of it up using duct tape. Material containing mercury was dumped into 1 or more dumpsters. Later estimates would put the amount of the spill as much as half a cup, and it was certainly at least several tablespoons of liquid mercury. If you know anything about mercury, you know that's enough to do an enormous amount of harm. Nobody reported the spill as required by law. The broken device was put in a small tub and left outside the maintenance room, where the tub was filled with water and it froze. Probably a good thing all in all, since it kept more mercury from leaking out. That's where the health department investigators would find it 3 months later, when a whistleblower at the plant, the person we now know was Troy Williams, called the health department. The good news, as Bob Shireman, your city engineer, can tell you, is that our wastewater plant is designed to pull mercury out of wastewater. We can't really tell from the sporadic readings whether that worked for this spill in terms of what was flushed down the sink and the floor drain, but it appears that a spike that appeared in the influent was handled by the system before the water went into our river. But when the health department came in March 2014, following Troy's call, when they came into the room where the spill had occurred, they found mercury all over the place. Beads of it were on the floor. The shop vacs showed contamination. Somebody noticed one of the shop vacs was missing a hose. The hose was traced to a Department of Public Works truck. The truck had been driven all around town, and it had beads of mercury on the front seat. At least one of the shop vacs was used to blow out the vents at the Hannah Community Center. And when the sink trap at the maintenance shop was finally pulled, in the trap there was a spoonful of liquid mercury. Because some of the material ended up in 1 or more dumpsters that took material to a landfill, then Director of Department of Public Works Todd Sneathen had to call Granger Management and tell them the city would pay for mercury testing for 3 Granger employees, including 2 truck drivers and a mechanic who had handled the material. It became clear over time that at least some of the mercury was landfilled thanks to the city of East Lansing. When Troy Williams finally called the authorities in March 2014, several months after the spill, he did it out of fear. He was scared that he and his coworkers had been exposed and that the people of East Lansing and beyond could be harmed by how this spill had been handled. By then, he had learned what it meant. By then, he and other workers had also just found out, because of the mercury spill issue being talked about at the plant, they'd found out about the existence of a 2007 report by a company called Fibertech. City managers had needed to find out where there was asbestos in the plant because the plant was being renovated. The external report in 2017 showed it was in many locations in the plant, including in friable form. That's the dangerous form that can be inhaled and cause debilitating and fatal lung disease. The 2007 external consultant report done by the city, for the city, told the city managers to educate everybody at the plant, mark where the asbestos hazards were, equip the workers with special clothing and breathing devices when they were going to be near the friable asbestos. That's all required by law. None of that happened for 7 years. None of it happened until Troy Williams called my OSHA in March 2014. During the period when the report was going unheeded, George Lahanas was Director of Human Resources and then City Manager. He was in charge of the health and the safety of our city's workers. Various other workers also tried to stand up with Troy, including Alicia Morris, who was a union rep. These workers were shocked to learn that what they had been exposed to without being properly educated and properly protected by the city's management. In March 2014, the city issued a press release claiming there was no remaining hazard to anyone in the general public from this major mercury spill, and that the health department had done, quote, full remediation, unquote, of mercury at the plant. That wasn't true, as records and additional investigations, including by the DEQ, clearly documented. In fact, a couple days after this press announcement indicating it was all over, more beads of mercury were found in the shop. Mr. Sneathen had to call the health department back in. The next month, plant supervisor Catherine Garnham wrote to tell Mr. Sneathen that a dumpster containing mercury had been tarped, but the tarp had blown off. The next day, the DEQ inspector showed up. That inspector noted the failure of the supervisors 4 months after the spill, quote, to accumulate hazardous waste in a manner which prevents escape directly or indirectly to gravity by gravity to soil, surface water, groundwater, drains, and sewers, unquote. The ridiculous so-called storage of the mercury-contaminated devices in garbage cans spray painted with X's as warnings led to the DEQ fining the city of East Lansing for being a toxic waste dump without a license to be one. I don't know why Mr. Lahanas announced to the public in March 2014 that there had been full remediation of the mercury spill when the supervisors at the plant knew there wasn't. I can find zero evidence that the administration here tried to track where the mercury went. When I FOIA'd any and all evidence that Mr. Lahanas had done an investigation to track the mercury, it came back no records found, and I was told this was because a full investigation was done, but it was done entirely on the phone and there was no records. I don't have time to tell you the rest of this horror story. If you want to know more, it's well documented at East Lansing Info. Wayne Beatty was fired. Todd Sneathen left the city's employ. The plant supervisor, Catherine Garnham, also left. She now works for a company that handles drinking water for the people of Flint, Michigan. What I can tell you is that every single time I spoke with Troy Williams about what had happened and what was going on, every single time I expected him to talk about what it meant to his personal life, to his job, and to his health, what it meant for his family. That included after he was fired, and it was clear he had lost his income, his health insurance, his ability to provide for his family, and a chance at a decent retirement. But every single time I talked to Troy Williams, he immediately expressed fear and concern, not about himself or his family, but about the people of East Lansing, the residents and the workers who he fears were in danger and may yet be in danger. He spoke of the people of Flint because of his fear of who works there now. When I spoke with him this morning, the people of East Lansing and the people of Flint were still his primary concern. Here is what he said to me this morning. People talk about this being a left problem or a right problem in this country. We don't have a left problem or a right problem in government. We have a people problem. What he meant was that over and over again, people have failed to do what was right. Criminal charges that should have been filed in the case of East Lansing's wastewater treatment plant have never been filed. Investigations have often been shoddy and ill-recorded, even beyond this city. Basic training and safety precautions guaranteed to workers and citizens are ignored. Now the city of East Lansing, which prides itself on being pro-environment and pro-worker, has fired a whistleblower because it says it can't find a single job in this entire city for him. This city has paid a very fine lawyer, Mr. Fleury, far more expert, frankly, than Mr. Williams' lawyers, to fight Mr. Williams and his fellow plant workers to try to deny them every penny possible. 8 of those workers have now walked away with no compensation for trying to do the right thing because their lawyers could not prove that the city managers had set out to intentionally harm them. One of those workers, Troy Williams, will get a settlement you will likely decide on tonight. I was trying to figure out how much he will really net, so I asked his lawyer, how much is she going to take from the top? She told me, I don't think that's important to emphasize. What I know is that the lawyer for this city, Mr. Fleury, will walk away from this whole scene with upwards of $250,000 from our taxpayers in our city's fight against our workers who we exposed to mercury and asbestos. It has been hard not to worry as I've watched Troy go through this. Because I've written a book about troublemakers and have been one myself, I know the data on whistleblowers. They lose their jobs, they lose their health insurance, they lose their income, they lose their retirements. The data shows us they often lose their marriages. They have an increased risk of suicide, and they struggle to find work because they are forever marked as troublemaker employees. There has never been a single acknowledgement by this administration or by the city council that Mr. Williams did the right thing. Of all the stories I have tracked for the people of the city of East Lansing, this is the one that has broken my heart.
Thank you, Mr. Eggert. The next card I have is from Mr. Joe Goodser. Mr. Goodser, would you like to speak now, or do you want to wait for the agenda item? Okay, and also Amy Rodnick, same question. Okay, does anybody else wish to speak? If so, just approach the microphone, and we'll do the blue card later. All right, we'll move on, thank you. The next agenda item is communications from the mayor and council members. I will tell you that from now on, I will start with a council member, but today I'm going to start myself, just to set the tone, I hope. It's one of my few perks. I get to decide who talks first, and in fact, part of my tone is that is about all I'm going to get to decide. So, first of all, I'm honored to be elected by my peers to be mayor of my favorite city. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope I prove to be worthy of the trust you put in me. So that's my goal. And I also want to set out what I hope to see for the next 2 years. First, as I think it's been most of the time, I have always seen, and I will continue to see this as a council of equals. So we all have the same vote, we all have the same voice, we have the same way to get things on the agenda. In the end, we are all equal deciders, for good or for bad. If we do things that people don't like, it's the entire council. If we do things that people like, it's the mayor. No, it's the entire council. So everybody knows how that goes on. If anybody feels that that's not happening, I would like you to point that out to me in public, and I will do my best to meet that goal. Secondly, as a newer mayor, as in less than 1 hour, and in general, it's my philosophy with this kind of government, I am going to be relying heavily on the city manager. And the example that I want to use for that, because we also have some developers in the audience, is with development. In the past, since the first day I was elected, which was 6 years ago, every time there's a development, there's a lot of pressure to negotiate with developers, which is not necessarily bad, and I think we've improved development that way. The problem is we don't all have equal opportunity to do that. We don't have the time, we don't have the access. So what I plan to do, and I can only speak for myself, is I am not going to negotiate directly. What I hope we can do, and again, I'm just speaking for myself, is that the council will set the limitations. This is what we want here, this is the height, this is what we're trying to see, this is what we're willing to do, if anything, with a brownfield or a TIF. We give those parameters to the city manager and his staff. They do the negotiations. Then if it comes back to us and they can't meet our limits, then we either don't do it or we change the limits. But it will be all done in public. I don't think we can actually do negotiations in public, because that is a professional thing that we hire a city staff to do, and the developers hire their own staff to do. So I think that's appropriate to happen given our parameters. That's my goal. My third big goal is I really want to improve our relationship with MSU, which has been hard for the last 5 years because of all the things that have happened at MSU. I don't think it has anything to do with the city. We've all had the same goal, improve our relationship with MSU. I think we're in a really good place to do it right now because they have a new president. And we, I think, have finally hit the ceiling on the amount of student housing we need. We're waiting for a housing study, but you don't really need a study to just look outside and see all the housing, especially with the new development going up across from Sears. We may well have enough student housing and close to campus, and we know that MSU is concerned about that. So one of the first things that I want to do when we meet with MSU, and the two people that are slated to meet with MSU, unless the council wants to change that, are the mayor and the mayor pro tem, is to let them know that we are not intending to do any more student housing, which definitely cuts into their ability to house their own students. So that's one of the first things I want to do. And then lastly, and this is a little bit more delicate, but I wanted to do it anyway. I wasn't quite sure if it was a good idea, but I decided what the heck. I'm going to do this for 2 full years. I will be your mayor, I will be your mayor, I'll be the mayor. And after that, I'm going to retire from city work. I will have been here 8 years, and we will have achieved a lot, and there will be more to do always. I'm not saying it's finished or will be by a long shot. But I wanted to say that today, because if you want to be on city council, there are a lot of things you might want to consider. Call the city, find out what openings there are in all of the subcommittees and committees, or look online even better. If we have another emerging leaders program, sign up for that. I think
Enrolling now, yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
I think everybody, did you go through that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so everybody here, except for our own emerging leader, were you ever in the program?
No, we started the program.
Oh, there we go.
I was not either.
Oh, you weren't? I thought you were.
Commission meetings.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's a great program. It's a good way to get to know everybody and how it works. It'll make you more
troublemaker.
of a troublemaker, no, more ready to serve if that's what you choose to do. So that's all I have. That's what I hope happens in the next 2 years, and that's it. Council member Meadows. Do we have the names right?
Yes.
Oh,
we did.
Lisa Bennett.
Mine,
Yeah, Lisa.
mine is, you're not Lisa.
Yeah, there's no like routine, you just get tagged by the mayor, whether you're ready or not.
That's right.
I want to just take this opportunity to thank the citizens of East Lansing, at least those that voted for me this time, for putting me back on council. I look very much forward to both the changes that are taking place on council. I've worked with a lot of councils over the years, and I think they've all been highly productive, and I'm looking forward to the productivity of this council and the new ideas that will be presented to the citizens of East Lansing. I'm very, very happy that we've accomplished the things that we have over the last 4 years, and I'm looking forward to working with a new mayor, a good friend, who I think will be a great mayor for the city of East Lansing going forward.
Councilmember Gregg.
Hi, happy to be here. I don't have anything to talk about because we haven't done any work yet, but I'm looking forward to starting.
That's my kind of report.
Concise.
Good evening.
Councilmember Babcock, sorry.
Oh, good evening and thank you. East Lansing, I always knew East Lansing was a great community, but it's just a superb community. There's an education behind every door, and I would go out knocking doors, and I would go home and tell my much better half, "You will not believe who I met today. You will not believe what I saw today." So it is truly an honor to be here and to be chosen to represent people. I'm trying to stay on top of my email. I have so many emails. Please be patient and always, always reach out if you have anything to say. Thank you.
And Mayor Pro Tem Stevens.
So I have a little something. So it has been an incredible honor to serve as a member of the East Lansing City Council for the past 2 years, and I thank everybody here and the members of the community that are entrusting me with this next role. For the next 2 years, I'm hopeful that you see a different attitude from this council. Our effort to be open, transparent, and communicative is at the top of my priorities. I've fought for this throughout my tenure here, and I'm excited to have a council truly that will fight for a council of equals that is operating in the public. The first of these changes might seem insignificant, but I think symbolizes a new way of deciding important issues within the city. Later on, hopefully, we will be announcing a special meeting next week that we will decide commission appointments at a public meeting. In the past, we have done commission assignments in private, which each individual council member talking to the mayor about their preferences, and then next thing the public knows, there are commission assignments. However, in an effort, and I think this is a big plus to our mayor's commitment to transparency and communication, we've decided that we want to do that in an open discussion because it's important for the members of the community that are watching us, that are listening to us, to be able to interact with us, to be able to understand where our priorities are, what issues we want to push. And so this is a really good thing. And it's going to be at a public meeting for anyone to witness or listen to. Throughout the next 2 years, I want everybody on this council, every member, to feel like they have an equal voice. I want to see 1 to 4 votes. I want to see 3 to 2 votes. And I want to see things pass unanimously. I want to discuss things during a discussion-only meeting that never make it to an agenda. And I want our staff to be able to feel comfortable bringing us something at a public meeting that they just want to hear our opinions on. I don't want to vote on things only when we know we have the votes to pass. I'm excited to see our incredibly talented staff thrive with a council that's here to give direction and oversight, but not necessarily complete control. We hear over and over from our residents, and this is a big example of this, strong opinions on development within the city. And from now on, I hope that those residents give their opinions to us directly, because developers will come to us at a public meeting, discuss their project, and we won't be carrying votes in individual meetings with those developers. Now, obviously, that's my own personal commitment to have my conversations out in public here, and any council member is willing or able to do whatever they feel necessary to do their job, but that's my commitment. For me, anything that I say to a developer in private, I'm happy to say here on the stand, because at the end of the day, we don't represent them, and we don't even represent the rest of council. We represent the people of this community, and they have just as much a right to know everything that we do. So I have been given the incredible opportunity, and we have been given the incredible opportunity to serve the people of East Lansing, and I will not take these next 2 years for granted. So thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just one quick item, and that is to say congratulations to our new council members, to Lisa Babcock, to Jessy, Gregg, and returning council member Mark Meadows. Also want to say big congratulations to Mayor Ruth Beyer and Mayor Pro Tem Aaron Stevens. Greatly appreciate all of your service and for you two stepping up into those roles. It is a great honor for me to serve as the city manager for this city, to lead such an excellent staff, and I look forward to working for and with this council to continue to move the city forward. And congratulations.
Thank you. The next item is the city attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor. As you'll note, I have attached my quarterly status report to the agenda. If any council members have any questions about any of the cases, individual cases, as they have an opportunity to review it, please contact me. There's a lot of information, obviously, that's not in that report, that's not made public, but I'm happy to fill in any of the council members if they have any questions about any of the cases, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. The next item is the consent agenda. City Manager Lahanas.
Yes, we have the following items on the consent agenda for council's consideration. Item 3.1, approve the following appointments or reappointments to boards and commissions. A, Kylie Carruthers to the University Student Commission for a partial term ending September 30th, 2020. B, Troy Fassbender to the Transportation Commission for a full term ending December 31st, 2021. C, Dr. Syed Wakar Haider to the Transportation Commission for a full term ending December 31st, 2021. D, Heather Pope to the Capital Area Community Services Board. 3.2, approve a Class 3 rental license for up to 2 unrelated persons or a family at 3970 Mustang Road. The owner is Falcon Point Holdings, LLC, East Lansing, and the legal agent is Robert Schroeder, East Lansing. Item 3.3, approve a Class 3 rental license for up to 2 unrelated persons or a family at 3974 Mustang Road. The owner is Mayberry Homes, LLC, East Lansing, and the legal agent is Robert Schroeder, East Lansing. Item 3.4, approve a Class 3 rental license for up to 2 unrelated persons or a family at 3982 Mustang. The owner is Falcon Point Holdings, LLC, East Lansing, and the legal agent is Robert Schroeder, East Lansing. Item 3.5, approve a Class 3 rental license for up to 2 unrelated persons or a family at 3986 Mustang Road. The owner is Falcon Point Holdings, LLC, East Lansing, and the legal agent is Robert Schroeder, East Lansing. Item 3.6, approve a Class 3 rental license for up to 2 unrelated persons or a family at 3981 Gallup Road. The owner is Falcon Point Holdings, LLC, East Lansing, and the legal agent is Robert Schroeder, East Lansing. Item 3.7, approve a resolution authorizing employee Thomas Blank to purchase 3 years of service credit from the Municipal Employees Retirement System, MERS, and authorize the city manager to sign. Item 3.8, approve a property claim settlement with Joyce Boutros in an amount not to exceed $7,000 and authorize the finance director to settle after obtaining a full release from the claimant before tendering funds. Item 3.9, approve a property claim settlement with Linda Duffelmeyer in the amount of $1,604.26 and authorize the finance director to settle after obtaining a full release from the claimant before tendering funds. Item 3.10, approve an agreement with American Business Investments for the construction of 188 linear feet of 8-inch water main on the south side of Trowbridge Road in conjunction with the redevelopment of 947 Trowbridge Road at a lump sum amount of $60,200 and authorize the city manager to sign. Item 3.11, set for the November 19, 2019 Business Agenda Ordinance 1459, an ordinance to regulate small cell wireless communications facilities deployment. Item 3.12, approve the Eastwood Town Center sewer easements. Item 3.13, approve a contract amendment to the as-needed professional engineering services contract for Tetra Tech in the amount of $40,000. Those are all the items on the consent agenda for council's consideration.
Thank you. Would any council member like any item removed to the business agenda? Seeing no changes, I'm looking for a motion for approval of the consent agenda. Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, seconded by Councilmember Meadows. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed?
I was not opposed.
You are aye.
I was just like,
okay, so the consent agenda has been approved. I'm getting this. All right.
Sorry.
The next item is our first public hearing, the consideration of Ordinance 1468, an ordinance to amend the use district map of the city of East Lansing by rezoning the properties at 710, 722, and 722.5 Grove Street from R-2 medium density single family residential district to RM-32 city center multiple family residential district. This is a public hearing, so we will start it off with comments from the public. And I do have 2 cards. We'll start with Mr. Goodsir.
Good evening. I'm here as representative of GTW to answer any questions on the rezoning of the properties. I don't have any comments at this point other than here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. We'll get through all of the public comments, and then if we have questions, would that be the best? That'll be the best way to do it. All right, and next, Amy Rodnick.
Good evening. On behalf of Sigma Delta Tau sorority, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to present to you tonight and share our excitement around a new sorority house. Tonight, I'm joined by sisters of our house, Sarah Woodstein, Vice President of Housing, and Elizabeth Marks, Senior and Member at Large, who will help tell our story. My name is Amy Rodnick, and I've been a part of the Michigan State community for over 20 years. I currently serve as a Sigma Delta Tau Beta Beta Chapter Advisor as well as the Housing Corporation president. I'm also the Mideast Regional Director and a past chapter president of the Beta Beta chapter of Sigma Delta Tau sorority at Michigan State University. I'm married to my husband Adam and have 2 daughters, Emily and Jillian. Let's go back to March 1917. The setting is Cornell University, and 7 women on Cornell's campus are experiencing the subtle but very real discrimination practiced by sororities and fraternities against religious minorities. They were a diverse bunch of women, with each bringing something special to the group. These women are probably not so different from many of the students here at Michigan State University. They each had traits that we look for when we are recruiting new members into our organization. And despite the many desirable traits these women have, the religious faith became the one trait that they were denied sorority membership. In response to the closed doors they experienced, these women feel empowered to establish something new. So on March 25th, 1917, these women, diverse in interest and united by their values, decide to find a new sorority that will respect the individuality of its members. Today, Sigma Delta Tau is 104 chapters strong, boasts over 70,000 alumni from 90 college campuses. Our members, still appreciated for their individuality, are inclusive of all women, empowered to be leaders on their campus, in their community, and beyond. Our mission is to empower each member to reach her fullest potential by enriching her experience of women with similar ideals, building lasting relationships, promoting civic responsibility, and fostering personal growth. We provide leadership opportunities for our members, take part in the community, and philanthropic endeavors locally and nationally, and participate in social events. Yesterday, the Beta Beta chapter of Sigma Delta Tau at Michigan State University celebrated our 35th anniversary of being recolonized. This speaks to the rich and strong history on the Michigan State University campus and the number of women that have been impacted by this amazing sisterhood. The women love going to Uncle John's cider mill, ice skating, bowling, or just spending a night in watching Netflix together. Our dedication to serving the community has been one of our core values from when we were first founded. Our philanthropy is Prevent Child Abuse America, and every year we host events to raise money for this important organization. From puppies to pinwheels to eat late at night to our pinwheel garden, the chapter raises thousands of dollars to impact PCAA. The chapter is also active in the community, volunteering at local soup kitchens, schools, and just trying to better themselves and the community at large. This is a group of women who excel academically and put academics first. They host weekly study hours, have workshops on resume building and career networking, and they also value their health and well-being, hosting self-defense workshops and mental health workshops. For those of you who don't know about our current housing situation, we have turned lemons into lemonade. We currently have 4 houses on MAC, all sitting next to each other. But this is not the typical sorority house experience. Living in one sorority house as a community is a huge part of the sorority experience. This is where the women grow as individuals, learn to live on their own, and become confident young women living our values. Part of living in a sorority house is learning how to live with all types of people. We have been able to foster a community and sisterhood, but we need a sorority house, a place where they can visit year after year and call their own, a place where they can go for chapter dinners, alumni events, sisterhood events, a common area where they can just be together, a place to hold study hours, a place to show off to new potential members during recruitment, a place to bring their parents, and the list goes on and on. Currently, Sigma Delta Tau is the only sorority on campus not to have a permanent home. They use hotel meeting rooms and rooms on campus to host all events. Despite the challenge, the sisterhood and leadership speak for itself, with 169 members strong. Like all sororities, Sigma Delta Tau has a strict no-tolerance policy regarding drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol are never allowed on sorority premise, and we've never had any issues to date. This is a sorority that brings the full package, but there is a missing link: one permanent place to call home. Sigma Delta Tau Sigma Delta Tau's home for years and years and years to come. And at this time, I would like to invite these two wonderful sisters of mine to speak as well. Sarah, I'll have you go first.
Hello. Members of the East Lansing City Council, thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. My name is Sarah Wutstein, and I am a junior and proud sister of Sigma Delta Tau's Beta Beta chapter at Michigan State University. I came to campus in the fall of 2017 from Chicago, Illinois, only knowing enough people to count on my fingertips at campus. My entire life, I've only been raised by men. My single father raised me, accompanied by my two older brothers. I had never had a sister. I had never had a positive female role model to look up to in my life until I joined Sigma Delta Tau. In a world where social media has consumed all of our lives, where young women are told by influencers who they must try to be, it is of the uttermost importance that you have true friends to ground you, true friends to lift you up. These are the friends I proudly call my sisters within Sigma Delta Tau. The strong women who make me proud to wear my Greek letters around campus, the women who will support me within the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, the women whose dedication to our sisterhood brought me to you tonight. Within the past 2 academic years, I have lived with 48 other women in my sorority house, which might be a very non-conventional sorority house, that is split among 4 smaller houses on MIC Avenue, as Amy had noted. Our sisterhood is growing rapidly. For the past 3 years I have been on campus, our house has been filled to max capacity, with sisters who have dreamed of living in being turned away due to having no space. The desire for so many sisters to live in each year is among one of our 4 houses is pure evidence that our sisterhood is strong and has grown at Michigan State University. The sisters I now call my role models that have led the chapter before me could only dream of the time when we would have one beautiful sorority house to call home. Today, I hope to continue their legacy, as I am currently serving as the Vice President of Housing for our sisterhood. Living in the house for 2 years, I know how our members can truly hold themselves to the highest standards, by living with respect for not only one another, but for also our neighbors, by volunteering in campus cleanup days, supporting local Greek community events, and playing an active role in our campus community as well. To have our sisterhood under one roof would mean providing more meaningful experiences through philanthropy events, community fundraising, and chapter meetings. This would help benefit our sisterhood, allowing us to proudly stand on Michigan State's campus for many years to come. We thank you for taking the time to hear our story and for helping us grow our sisterhood that stands on the premise of one hope for many people.
Hi. My name is Elizabeth Marks, and I'm honored to stand in front of the City Council. As a senior at Michigan State University, I was welcomed into Sigma Delta Tau sorority in the fall of 2016 by my mother, a fellow sorority sister, Ruth, alongside my sorority sisters here at MSU. One of my mother's proudest moments was watching me be welcomed into Sigma Delta Tau, the community of women that gave her so much. She was excited for me to experience what being in a sorority was like and wanted to have me live in a sorority house. Being from out of the state, the sisterhood of Sigma Delta Tau and the houses on MAC provided me with a home away from home. Sigma Delta Tau gave me a family when I needed it most. It gave me a family when I lost a member of my own. After a 5-year-long fight, my father died this October after suffering several strokes and many other infections. It was only 1.5 years into these painful 5 when I arrived here at Michigan State University. I wouldn't have made it through these years at college if it weren't for the support system that Sigma Delta Tau bridged to me. The times I felt like the world was falling apart, my sisters were there for me when I needed them most. It was these women that I lived with in the sorority house that were by my side when I was told my father had suffered his final stroke. And it's because of these women that I'm able to stand here today. Having a support system physically with you 24/7 has made all the difference. Although living in a sorority house was an amazing experience, the housing situation we have has come with many missed opportunities. Having 4 separate houses has segregated our chapter into 4 different groups of women. The situation has hindered our opportunity to connect and grow as a collective whole. Giving us this opportunity to live under one roof would allow us one sanctuary to take ownership of, work to improve, and grow collectively. Although I am graduating this year, I look forward to coming back and seeing our beautiful home and the incredible women who embody it. Thank you.
As I shared before, academics are our #1 priority, so I'd like to introduce our chapter president, Julia Bretschneider. She was actually in class and just got here, so thank you.
Hello, my name is Julia Brettschneider, and I am the current chapter president of Sigma Delta Tau. I left my home in New York looking for change. I wanted to go to college in a new environment, meet new people, and explore outside my comfort zone. It didn't take much for me to fall in love with Michigan State. The campus, the atmosphere, and the excitement of a Big Ten school, but there was something missing. While the campus itself was great, and so was the community, I was missing a connection with the people. I underestimated how lonely it would be coming to Michigan State as an out-of-state student, not knowing a single person. And I knew I needed to find something to give me that solid community I had wanted since the day I moved in. That's what makes me so grateful for Sigma Delta Tau. The idea of being part of something bigger, something that gave me an endless opportunity to branch out and make a change, not only within my community, but within myself, was something I longed for here at State. Sigma Delta Tau has given me that and so much more. I live in our current housing situation. Having an opportunity to live with such amazing women has grown me in ways I never knew possible. I have learned, and I'm continuing to learn so much from the women around me. Living in has given me a chance to fully immerse myself in the lives of the people that I live with, and it shows me that I genuinely care about them. When I come home to the 47 amazing people every day and ask them how their day was, not over a text where I'm thinking of 100 other things I have to do, but rather face to face. The ability to have a personal connection with my sisters in a comfortable, safe, homey environment has helped me develop deeper relationships, as well as communication and leadership skills. The past few years, our chapter has grown so much, not only in number of members, but in passion and dedication for our organization. At the biggest we've ever been, we are outgrowing our current situation. Being able to hold sisterhood events such as movie nights and paint parties, chapter meetings, and even recruitment, and a place we could call home would mean more to us than you could even imagine. I thank you for taking the time to listen to us today and appreciate you giving me a platform to speak about how much Sigma Delta Tau means to me.
Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this issue? Mr. Goodsir, Mayor Pro Tem Stevens has a question for you.
So this is more related to the next item, which is the actual site plan itself. I see no issue with the rezoning. Was there a member of the audience that wanted to?
I'd just like to be able to speak tonight. Oh, sure. As soon as this question is asked, well, I'll invite you up. Thank you.
Regarding the site plan, we've had issues in the past with outward, I would say not balconies. On your property, there was a described kind of ledge that is on the third floor. And I was wondering how much of an inconvenience it would be if there were a railing around that ledge that went out.
That's not a problem at all. I know we had a discussion on the last project.
Yeah.
And there was some concern about that, so.
We actually recently had an incident within the city of East Lansing too, where some people were injured because of, going out, and obviously, you can't really predict the future, and so, nobody can say that anybody's ever going to go out there. Nobody can say that anybody's not going to go out there. So I'd just rather have it be a safer,
Yeah, it's a very valid point with the windows out there, so.
Sure.
Putting a, traditionally it's a 42-inch balcony, but the last meeting when we talked about the River Street project, we would increase that height to a 46 or a 48-inch railing if that's what you would like to see.
Sure, okay. That's my only question.
Any more questions for Mr. Goodsir? Councilmember Meadows.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to our discussion that took place involving the East Village. So in that project, the changes that you agreed to make to eliminate this particular, I guess, situation of people perhaps going out on this roof, I thought we didn't just put a balcony or a railing around that. What was the resolution of that, Joe?
Well, in that particular situation, it was required by code that the building step back, and so it created a natural balcony. This is a completely different situation. It's more of a architectural design to the building to give it that traditional sorority look. So to protect those we had a door on the other one, if you recall. We don't have doors, we just have windows, so there'd be a railing put around there if that's something that you'd like to see.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilmember Gregg?
This is just because I want to get it out there. We haven't met, but I actually have a business in a building that is partially owned by you. So if I'm going to be voting on something that is related to you, I just want to clarify that we have a business relationship, although you might not have known that.
I didn't.
Yeah.
What building is that?
I sublease my space from Woven Art, and our lease is with CRMC. So,
Okay. Thank you for letting me know.
yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, we have one more person at least who would like to speak. One of the things I have to learn is to wait longer, so I apologize.
Thank you. I wanted to thank the council for your time this evening, also your talent and your tenacity to serve. My father served on the Planning Commission, which was especially involved with zoning changes back in the 80s and the 90s. Our 600 block, I know some of the council members have walked Grove Street, and there were big changes. I grew up on Grove Street and spent a lifetime as a citizen of East Lansing. So I do value the community greatly. The changes that have occurred house by house, making a change in the zoning code. And the 400 and 500 blocks are no longer balanced. The 600 and the 700 blocks are what I would call a balanced community, and what our zoning initially changes were designed for, to have students. In our 600 block, we have 3 young families. We had 2 adults in their 90s living on their own with home health supports. A professor who invites all of us to have starting the year kind of a gathering. So we really are a community in the 600 and 700 blocks as they are. I was a member of a sorority, so I do appreciate your remarks, particularly that service and scholarship are important, and to do that collectively. But I am concerned about the historic housing within the community, whether or not that has been considered at all prior to decisions to move ahead with development. And particularly concerned that this current setting where there is an opportunity for a family, it's a house which is just 1 block from the community center, 1 block from the library, 1 block from the high school. We hope that our young members in the community on the 600 and 700 block will be walking to that street as well for their schooling. I just wanted to be sure that you consider and walk Grove Street, all of it, before making your decision, and hope that there might be some opportunity to reconsider not having zoning changes in the neighborhood. And I speak as a 64-year member of Grove Street. Thank you for your time.
Before you leave, I think there's a question, but also grab a card and fill it out when you get back there. Thank you.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate
did you have
the
a question?
opportunity to
No, just
speak.
a really quick comment
Okay.
on this. So I appreciate you coming here. And honestly, you bring up an issue that I think hopefully this council is going to address in a bigger stroke than just even Grove Street. It's around zoning and what we really want to see for the city of East Lansing. We have a comprehensive plan here that took a lot of community input, that took a lot of staff time and opinions from members of the community like yourself that said, what do we want to see out of our city? Where do we want to see it? And right now, I think our zoning is inconsistent with some of that. And so it's important that, while things like this will probably always come up, we create zoning within the city where we can say, this is what we want to see, and these are the parameters that we're laying out. Right? And if it's not within those parameters, then it's not within those parameters. And I think that, that's something that we definitely hear from you and that we should address, because what you're describing is a house-by-house change, a rezoning of each individual house, each individual property. And we see that occasionally with downtown properties, and we see that with different areas. When in reality, what should be happening is the council should be saying, we have these rules, follow them, right?
Yes,
so
and to keep a balance.
Sure. So I really do appreciate your comments on this, and you should be seeing a lot more of that conversation coming up pretty soon.
Thank you.
Of course.
appreciate your thoughts.
And
Councilmember Sorry, go ahead.
Please be part of that conversation
Oh,
as well.
thank you.
Please consider it our invitation to you to participate.
Good ideas come from everywhere.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address council on this, in this public hearing? Seeing no more contribution from the public, I will close the public hearing and ask for staff to walk us through this, please. Mr. Haywood?
Thank you. Let me just bring up the zoning map real quick. Okay, so this is a request to rezone the property from R2 to RM32. This subject property involves two different parcels, that being 710 Grove Street, which is a one-story single-family dwelling. Currently a rental property licensed for 2 occupants. 722 and 722 and a half is a two-story duplex that's licensed for a Class 4 rental up to 6 occupants. The proposed site is about just under an acre. The proposals for a 3-story sorority has been talked about for 45 members, those being bedrooms with 1 and 2 beds with on-site parking of 23. The master plan calls for the area to be in the category of R4. That's the future land use designation, which is equivalent to structures up to 4 stories and allows for uses including extended care, restaurant, services, office, places of worship, bed and breakfast, and residential uses. The proposed zoning district calls for up to 3 stories or 40 feet and allows a similar range of land uses, those being restaurants, extended care nursing, civic uses, nonprofit recreational uses, office, and multiple family. This is within the College Grove Historic District, so it would require Historic District Commission approval for the removal of the structure and the construction of the new structures. The Planning Commission heard this and acted on September 25th. They were unanimous in their support to recommend approval. And with that, I would take any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I hate to harp on this one specific issue, but is the average height for that railing 42 inches, I believe is what was set out at one of our last meetings when we discussed this?
The average height?
Or
the code requirement is 42,
requirement.
I believe. Is that correct? 42 is correct for
42.
code
Okay,
compliance.
thank you.
Councilmember Gregg?
That block of multifamily there that's on Bircham, that kind of low on both sides, that's currently all sorority houses, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so this is kind of filling in the rest of that block.
Councilmember?
Just a question. When you mentioned the historic district, there's no condition with regard to the rezoning. Is the condition regarding historic district in the site plan approval?
It's not. That would be a normal course of action. It would not hurt to add it as a condition. In either case, it would be required to go before the Historic District Commission before we issued any building permits, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes,
How
Councilmember
many
Gregg.
structures would be demolished?
2. 710 is a single family, and 722 and 722 and a half is a duplex.
Okay.
Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem?
I'll move approval of ordinance 14.
I have a question.
Oh, my bad.
That's okay. So I just want to make sure I understood what Councilmember Meadows was saying, because I had the same question. Without a condition, if we approve this tonight, then it would be able to go ahead without ever going to the historic district?
No, I mean,
Oh, it would
it would have to go there regardless of whether the condition was in that. We would require that it be reviewed by
Okay.
the Historic District Commission as per any other type of permit that we get is in a historic district, it has to go.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody was clear on that. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I move approval of ordinance 1468, an ordinance to amend the use of district map of the city of East Lansing by rezoning the properties 710, 722, and 722 and a half Grove Street from R2 medium density single family residential district to RM32 city center multiple family residential district.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Meadows. Are there any amendments?
I don't have amendments to this. I have amendments to the site plan.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. This has been approved. We move on to the second item in the public hearing, which is consideration of a site plan and special use permit application from GTW Investment Properties LLC for the properties at 710, 722, and 722 and a half Grove Street to demolish the existing structures and construct a 3-story building for a Class B multifamily residential structure. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak on this issue? Is there anybody who would like to speak on this issue? Okay, I will close the public part of the hearing and ask city staff, I'm guessing it's Mr. Haywood, to come back and walk us through this piece.
Can I just say ditto?
Yes, yeah.
No, so really, we've covered most of the issues related to the site plan as well. I think we probably want to take a look at the. How do I back up? How do I go back to the prior?
Are you looking for the site plan?
Yeah. Can you help that? So, at any rate, equally, the Planning Commission viewed this on September 11th and offered unanimous support for the project. Conditions are the same that we talked about. Thank you.
I think we all have a copy of it. Do you have it? Everybody have it? Any questions for Mr. Haywood? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Meadows?
I'll move approval of the site plan and special use permit application from GTW Investment Properties LLC for the properties at 710, 722, and 722 and a half Grove Street to demolish the existing structures and construct a 3-story building for a Class B multifamily residential structure.
Friendly amendment to include the 15 outlined.
I'm going to make an amendment to that. Okay.
Is there a second to the original
Second.
amendment? Seconded by the Mayor Pro Tem. Are there any amendments?
I do have an amendment to
Councilmember
add a
Meadows.
condition 16. The applicant shall install a 42-inch high railing on the perimeter of the porch roof.
Can you say it one more time?
The applicant shall install a 42-inch high railing on the perimeter of the porch roof.
Tom, is that language?
Certainly.
And is that the height that you were?
Yeah, that was.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor of the amendment, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The amendment is adopted. Any other amendments?
If I could just mention that I would add an amendment relating to the historic district, but as indicated, they're going to have to go through that anyway, so I don't think it's necessary for us to have it in the actual approval.
And that's what I was trying to get to too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a second to the amendment? That's what the secretary
Yes,
was
the
asking.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
Thank you, and just interrupt me if I go too fast. Okay, any other amendments? Okay, I will now ask the question on the main motion, which is approval of the agenda item as amended. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The site plan has been approved. Thank you. The next item is our business agenda. 5.1, for those who are following, we will be considering the global settlement agreement for a former employee and authorize the city manager to sign. And our staff on this one is Mr. Flory. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm pleased to announce that we have negotiated a proposed settlement of 2 cases that are pending. The first case is a workers' compensation case that has been pending since 2017. Mr. Troy Williams was the employee in that case, and in June of 2017, he suffered an injury to his tendon. He tore a tendon, and he was doing his regular job at the wastewater treatment plant. Workers' compensation benefits were instituted voluntarily. He was paid benefits. A dispute arose in December of 2017 about whether or not he could return to work or not. And at that time, the case was filed. They filed a lawsuit against the city opposing that dispute, and it was scheduled for a trial that year. In February of 2018, we, with his very experienced workers' compensation lawyer, negotiated a settlement. It was a compromise settlement, and it was for $85,000. And we were scheduled, I reported to Mr. Lahanas that we had a proposed settlement, and we had asked that it come before council, and so we could discuss the settlement. And I think we were about to schedule a hearing in March, but before we had a chance to have that hearing, Mr. Williams filed a second lawsuit, and that was the whistleblower suit that he filed in Ingham County Circuit Court, alleging that he never returned to work, but his employment ended after 1 year of being on a leave, and he claimed that was a wrongful termination, and he filed a whistleblower case against the city of East Lansing. I defended that case, and so therefore the settlement did not go through of the workers' compensation case, because we felt it was in the best interest, if we were going to settle the case, to settle all disputes that arose between Mr. Williams and the city. That case was filed, and we started the discovery process, and by September-ish, we had reached a point where we felt that it would be wise to try to resolve both cases. And at my recommendation, we used the efforts of a mediator. We hired a mediator. We didn't hire. We went to the Workers' Compensation Agency and asked for an experienced magistrate appointed by the governor to help us see if we could resolve the case, both cases. And both attorneys for Mr. Williams appeared. So we had all 3 attorneys there, 2 against 1, but whatever. And the mediator then worked with us, and we negotiated, and we went. It was all morning. We went back and forth, negotiated the case, and the mediator then proposed a settlement, and all 3 attorneys said that they would be comfortable recommending that to their client, that it would be the best way. And the mediator said it's a compromise, but I think it's in the best interest of both Mr. Williams and the city of East Lansing to proceed this way with this settlement. So at that time, I requested that I advise the proposed settlement to who I report to, your city manager, Mr. Lahanas, and I asked that it be considered by council. I received a calendar invite for October, I forget what meeting that was, and unfortunately I did not coordinate that with my personal calendar. I was scheduled to be on vacation that week, and my wife said if I canceled another vacation, our marriage would end. So I said no. I pleaded for another. I spoke to both attorneys, and they said fine, let's adjourn it. So then we rescheduled for this evening, and that's why we're here today, to consider this proposal. The settlement, the terms of the settlement are the same settlement for the workers' compensation case. It's $85,000 we paid to Mr. Troy Williams to settle the workers' compensation claim. There would be an additional $40,000 that would be paid to him to settle the circuit court cause of action, which is the whistleblower claim. In workers' compensation cases, settlements always include past, present, and future injuries, those you know about, those you don't know about. It's a complete settlement. You can never come back and ask for any more workers' compensation benefits, which are wage loss, health care, rehabilitation. In this particular case, one of the holdups was Mr. Williams felt strongly that he, could have been exposed, or he claimed was exposed to asbestos while he worked at the wastewater treatment plant. He'd added that to his workers' compensation complaint. The deposition testimony of his expert and our expert said he does not have any asbestos-related disease at this time. He's afraid that in the future something might come up. He might get that type of a disease. At that time, and we discussed it, and against all past practice, I recommended, and Mr. Lahanas agreed, that if in fact in the future Mr. Williams ever does have an asbestos-related disease, he's not precluded from bringing that claim forward. Normally he would be. Normally he would always be precluded from bringing any claim, but we agreed no. At this point, if that happens, well, let him come forward and let him proceed that claim. So that we decided that let's move on that way and make that part of the settlement. So that became part of the settlement negotiations. Workers' compensation is always a moving target. So part of the settlement also was, during the dispute time, he continued to treat for his shoulder condition, and he was having medical bills that we weren't paying because we had disputed the claim. And it was agreed that whatever those bills came out to at the end, their health care provider bills, and we would agree that we would satisfy that medical lien. We never know what that's going to actually be because I don't know when he treats and how much he treated, but we said if it was related to his claims, we would cover that bill also. So now the last time that lien came forward, it was $5,900. So Mr. Williams doesn't get that. It's not really part of the settlement, but that will be paid pursuant to your workers' compensation administrator. They pay that to the health care provider, and that is part of the agreement. Another part of the settlement was he had also filed a grievance pursuant to his collective bargaining agreement about his discharge. And as part of the collective bargaining agreement, he has a right to proceed to arbitration. So we're going to be scheduling an arbitration hearing, which is another trial. And he agreed to withdraw that. His union agreed to withdraw it. He agreed to withdraw it. So that's dismissed. And so the grievance is over too. So it is a global settlement. I think it's an excellent settlement. I think that, as the mediator said, it's in the best interest of all parties to resolve these things at this time. His attorneys have both recommended it to him. They have told me, I consulted with them. They want this to proceed. They think it's in his best interest, and they are requesting that, I come here and ask for the settlement authority, and that's why I'm here. And I'm asking that you do authorize Mr. Lahanas to sign the release that I've submitted, that you've seen, I think, that he can sign it. And once he signs that, I can then proceed to go to the Workers' Compensation Agency and proceed with what we call a redemption hearing, which has to be approved by a magistrate. And then once she approves that, we will then authorize the settlement with this part and ask for the checks to be issued. So that's where we are. That's what I'm recommending.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Tory? I just have one question about the claim. If he, as he ages, develops something that he thinks is attributed to asbestos, when you say claim, you mean he could sue again?
Yes, he can go into the Workers' Compensation Agency and file what we call an application for benefits or hearing, saying, I have a condition, and I think it's related to my employment, and I'd like this paid. And then the city has to make a determination. Is it yes? Are we going to voluntarily pay it, or will we dispute it and have a trial?
I see. Okay.
And he's not precluded from doing that, although he normally would be.
Yeah, I've never seen that in the city.
I never have either. It's the first time I've ever done that, but we thought that was the right thing to do. Sure. So that's what we did.
Okay, any other questions? All right. So at this point, I would ask for a motion to approve item 5.1.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Meadows, and a second. Second by Councilmember Babcock. Any amendments or discussion?
I wanted to just add to the discussion. This is a long-running lawsuit that has been well publicized, and it's a little unique situation to have two very new council members deciding on it. So I just wanted to I guess, offer assurance that I've had a chance to meet with Mr. Flory. I had questions. He answered them to my satisfaction. The alternative to that would have been to go into closed session, which I kind of felt, because there was a lot of privileged communication that long-serving members of council have been privy to in those closed sessions, and I, as a new member of council, have not been privy to, so the option was then to meet with the lawyer in advance of this meeting. I didn't really want to start my first meeting in a closed session, so that seemed like kind of a good hybrid solution, and I had my answers, or my questions answered, and so I do feel that I have the information I need to vote on this.
Councilmember Meadows.
One comment, a short comment. I know that Mr. Flory was a little uncomfortable about the way that we did this time. This is a little bit different than the city has operated in the past, and we began to have these matters brought forward to council in a more public session when we handled the Adams advertising litigation as well. So I think this is the right way to do it, and I think the public gets a better chance to see what we're hearing when we make a decision on whether we're going to settle a lawsuit or not. I'll also just note that this provision, which allows Mr. Troy Williams to preserve his asbestosis litigation if he ever should contract that disease. During all the time that I was in the legislature, and I think since then, there have been attempts by the industry to limit the ability of persons to get relief for asbestos contamination. And this, even if that was successful at some point in the future, either federally or here, this would give him his right to proceed even if there was a change in the law. So I think it's a very good settlement.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of approving this settlement, please vote by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the settlement has been approved, or sorry, we have approved the city manager to sign the settlement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And for the record, I also voted aye. Okay, and we are finished, and we are now adjourned. My first gaveling has occurred. Thank you.
Well, gavel.
Hey, thanks for the pat.